Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of Gandhi today. It's going to
Yeah,
be fascinating.
really is.
Yeah. We're going to explore how his ideas about nonviolence and self-discipline and simplicity can help us, navigate this crazy modern world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost like taking a time machine
Yeah.
back to his life and seeing like what practical wisdom we can kind of steal for ourselves.
Steal. I like that.
Right.
What's fascinating about Gandhi, his influence goes way beyond just India.
Yeah.
His principles are so timeless.
I mean, they are.
Think about it. Nonviolence, self-discipline, simple living.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that can make a difference in, anyone's life, no matter where they are in the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about Mahatma Gandhi, the father of India.
Right.
But he wasn't always this, revered figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So picture this, okay?
Okay.
A mischievous kid stealing coins for cigarettes.
It's wild, right? It's a reminder that even the most iconic figures have these unexpected beginnings.
Yeah.
But what's really important, I think, is the lesson that he learned from his father's reaction to this, right?
Yeah.
Instead of anger, punishment, it was tears.
Wow.
And that showed young Gandhi the incredible power of love,
It's true.
and owning up to your mistakes.
And confession.
Yeah, confession, exactly.
Yeah. That's such a, powerful point, though. It really makes you think about how much those early experiences shape us.
They do.
They really, really do.
And speaking of shaping, we can't forget about his arranged marriage at 13.
Oh my gosh, 13.
13, yeah. And initially, he struggled with, those very human emotions,
Yeah.
jealousy, possessiveness,
Right.
things we can all relate to, right?
Oh, totally.
But then his father's death, that became a turning point.
It did.
It ignited this sense of duty, this responsibility,
Yeah,
and set him on this path of self-discovery.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Ghani, the young husband, trying to figure things out. Then he heads off to London for law school. And can you just imagine him
I know.
trying to fit in
Yeah.
like an English gentleman?
So awkward, right.
So awkward.
Yeah.
But then we get that pivotal moment,
Yeah.
that train platform in South Africa.
That's where it all changes. Gandhi, totally unaware of the discrimination against Indians there,
Right.
he books a first-class ticket
Oh, wow.
and gets forcefully removed, thrown off the train just because of his race.
Like unbelievable.
Brutal.
Yeah.
A brutal introduction to the realities of prejudice.
And it was freezing that night, too.
I know.
He's sitting there on the platform, just processing this injustice.
Yeah.
It's incredible that he chooses to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
But not with violence. That's where the seeds of satyagraha.
Exactly.
So that's where it starts.
Satyagraha, so often misunderstood.
Yes, it is.
Like passive resistance.
Yeah.
But it's anything but passive.
But it's active.
It's about actively resisting injustice, but with truth as your weapon. You appeal to your opponent's conscience rather than their fear.
So it's like fighting back,
Yeah,
but with a different set of tools.
totally different set of tools.
Yeah.
Think of it like this, right? If violence is a hammer trying to break something,
Okay.
satyagraha is a key trying to unlock something.
All right.
Much more subtle strategic approach,
Okay.
but incredibly powerful.
I'm starting to see, the connection to the nonviolence principle now.
Absolutely.
But how did he actually put satyagraha into action?
Well, one of the most striking examples, honestly, is his response to these discriminatory laws in South Africa.
Oh, right, yeah.
These laws were just, ridiculous.
They were.
They required Indian women to strip for police.
That's awful.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
It was just a blatant attempt to humiliate and dehumanize them.
It was.
It was just blatant abuse of power.
It was.
But instead of meeting violence with violence,
Yeah.
Gandhi mobilized the entire Indian community in this mass satyagraha movement. Thousands of people were beaten, imprisoned, but they refused to retaliate.
Mm.
They held firm to the truth, knowing that their suffering would expose the injustice of the system.
It's mind-blowing to think of the strength that must have taken
I know.
and the discipline.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Uh.
And it makes me wonder, how did he inspire so many people to follow him?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Gandhi believed that real social change could only happen if individuals committed to personal transformation first.
Mm-hmm.
He saw self-mastery as a crucial step towards achieving true freedom,
Yeah.
both for himself and for the society he was fighting for.
So it wasn't just about, the grand political movements. It was also about this inner work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Gandhi was all about walking the talk, right?
Yeah.
He believed in experimenting with truth in his own life, constantly pushing himself to live by the principles he was advocating for.
I see.
That's where things like his vow of celibacy come in, or brahmacharya.
Wait, celibacy?
Mm-hmm.
At age 37, that's a commitment.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
For Gandhi, it was about conquering desire, specifically sexual desire.
Oh, okay.
He saw it as a way to achieve like a childlike innocence, a purity that would allow him to more effectively fight against violence and oppression.
So it wasn't just about, like, abstaining from sex.
No.
It was about mastering his desires and, like, channeling his energy
Exactly.
towards a greater purpose.
Exactly. It was a form of extreme self-discipline that, for him, was essential for achieving his goals.
Okay. I can see the connection to self-discipline.
Yeah.
But it also just seems incredibly challenging, even, like, a bit extreme for most people.
It was. And even Gandhi admitted it wasn't for everyone.
Okay.
But the underlying principle is something we can all learn from.
Yeah.
It's this idea that self-control, this ability to master our impulses, is essential for achieving anything worthwhile, whether it's personal goals or social change.
Yeah. It makes me think about, like, all the distractions we have today.
I know.
And temptations in modern life, social media, consumerism,
The pressure.
the pressure, to be more.
To be more.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with these messages that feed our desires,
Yeah.
and that makes self-control even harder.
It does. It
Yeah.
really does. And that's why Gandhi's emphasis on self-discipline is so relevant today. It's a reminder that we have the power to choose what we focus on, what we give our energy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
can choose to be slaves to our desires, or we can choose to master them and direct our energy towards something greater than ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have satyagraha,
Mm-hmm.
this active, truth-fueled resistance. We have self-discipline,
Yeah.
the key to personal transformation.
Mm-hmm.
But how does this all connect back to his fight for India's independence?
So in 1915, Gandhi returns to India after decades in South Africa.
Okay.
What he finds is a country under this suffocating grip of British rule.
Yeah.
Think about it, right?
Oh.
100,000 British controlling 300 million Indians.
Gosh.
It's just the exploitation was blatant.
That was.
India's resources were being drained, you know?
Yeah.
Its industries crippled. Its people deliberately kept dependent.
It must have been so disheartening to see his homeland like that.
I know, just this stark picture of injustice.
Yeah.
But Gandhi, armed with those lessons of satyagraha and self-discipline, knew that the fight for independence had to start with a change in mindset.
Yeah.
He had to awaken a spirit of self-reliance in the Indian people.
Okay. So how did he do that? How did he go about doing that?
Well, he urged people to reject everything British made.
Wow.
Clothes, goods, anything that represented their dependence on the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
He encouraged them to spin their own cloth, to embrace simple living, to break free from this web of economic and cultural control.
That's powerful.
And burning British-made clothes became a powerful symbol of resistance.
Wow.
A way to reclaim their own identity.
So it's like he was saying, we can clothe ourselves, we can govern ourselves.
Exactly. It was about reclaiming their power, their dignity.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just symbolic. It was about shifting the entire economic structure, creating a more self-sufficient India.
Okay. And this all ties back to, his idea of simple living, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gandhi believed that true freedom came not from material possessions, but from inner strength and self-sufficiency. And he lived by this principle, wearing simple homespun clothes, eating a simple vegetarian diet, and even incorporating a daily spinning ritual into his life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What about the spinning wheel?
Yeah.
It always seemed like more than just a practical activity.
You're right. It was. It was a powerful symbol connecting him to the masses,
Yeah.
to the everyday struggles of the Indian people. But it was also a deeply personal practice, For Gandhi, spinning wasn't just about making cloth. It was about connecting with his inner self.
Wow.
With the source of his own strength and resilience.
Like a form of meditation almost.
Exactly.
To ground himself.
Exactly.
Amidst all the chaos.
Amidst all the chaos and turmoil around him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was this grounding, this inner strength that allowed him to lead a movement for independence without resorting to violence.
Right.
He understood that true power comes not from brute force, but from the unyielding spirit of a people united in their purpose.
Okay. I'm really starting to see how these, seemingly disparate ideas, satyagraha, self-discipline, simple living, they all intertwine
They do.
to form the foundation of his philosophy. It's like a recipe
Yeah.
for peaceful revolution.
It is. It really is.
It is.
And it's a recipe that's just as relevant today as it was back then. We may not be facing colonial rule, but we're all fighting our own battles.
We are.
Against injustice.
Totally.
Against our own inner demons.
Yeah.
Against a system that often seems designed to keep us distracted and disempowered.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, Gandhi's ideas, they can be applied to our own personal struggles.
Absolutely.
Even if they seem like small or insignificant.
Yeah.
Compared to a fight for, independence of a country.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of his teachings. They're not just about these grand political movements. They're about how we live our lives every single day.
It's true.
They're about making conscious choices that align with our values, about finding the courage to stand up for what we believe in, and about remembering that true strength comes from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is making a lot of sense. I'm already feeling inspired to take a closer look at my own life and see where I can apply these principles.
I love that.
Yeah. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I have to ask about the Salt March.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, it's like Gandhi 101, right?
It's one of the most iconic moments in his life, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It perfectly encapsulates everything we've been talking about. Satyagraha, self-discipline, simple living, all rolled into this one powerful act of defiance.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
Okay.
What was the Salt March?
Okay.
And why was it so significant?
Picture this. 1930, Ghandi, 61 years old,
Okay.
decides to walk 240 miles to the sea to protest the British salt tax.
240 miles?
240 miles. It sounds simple, even absurd, right?
Okay, wait, a salt tax.
A salt tax.
Why was salt such a big deal?
Well, salt was a basic necessity, essential for life, right?
Yeah.
But the British had imposed a monopoly on it, forcing Indians to buy their expensive imported salt.
Wow.
So it became a symbol, of their control.
Yeah.
A way to exploit the Indian people for profit.
It's like a metaphor.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay, so Gandhi decides to walk to the sea and just make his own salt.
He does.
It's such a simple act.
It is.
But it feels so powerful.
It was a brilliant example of satyagraha in action. It was a direct challenge to British authority, but it was done in a way that exposed, the absurdity of the law without resorting to violence.
It was, yeah. I remember seeing those images of him.
I know.
Walking with thousands of followers.
It's so powerful.
It's such a powerful visual.
I know. And the whole world was watching.
They were.
The Salt March captured global attention.
Yeah.
Shined a spotlight on the injustice of British rule and the power of nonviolent resistance.
It's true.
Yeah.
And there's that amazing story about him offering the viceroy a pinch of illegally manufactured salt.
Oh, yeah.
Like such a small gesture.
I know.
But it was so loaded.
It was a brilliant move. It was a symbolic way to say, we will not comply with your unjust laws.
Yeah.
We will make our own salt and we will govern ourselves.
Wow.
It's a declaration of independence wrapped in a pinch of salt.
That's amazing. It really does highlight, his genius of finding these, simple, everyday acts that when they're infused with purpose and intention become such powerful statements.
Exactly. And that's the legacy of the Salt March. It showed the world that even the most seemingly insignificant actions, when driven by truth and a commitment to nonviolence, can have a profound impact.
It's a good reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, even in small ways. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive already, from his mischievous childhood to his transformative experiences in South Africa, the principles of satyagraha and self-discipline, to this powerful symbolism of the Salt March. I feel like I'm starting to get a sense of, the man behind the legend, But there's still so much more to explore.
There is. You're right. We've only just scratched the surface. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into the personal cost of Gandhi's unwavering commitment. The challenges he faced and the heartbreaking events that really shaped his later years.
Okay. This is getting really good. I can't wait to hear more.
Me too. And I think our listeners are going to be fascinated by what we uncover next.
Yes.
Stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get even more interesting.
So we left off talking about his incredible leadership during India's fight for independence.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to see how he used those core principles,
Yeah.
Satyagraha, self-discipline, simple living,
Yeah.
to rally a whole nation.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, did this unwavering dedication come at a personal cost?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, constantly being in the spotlight, leading this movement,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been easy.
You're right. Gandhi's commitment did come with personal sacrifices.
Yeah.
One of the most heartbreaking examples, honestly, is his relationship with his son Harilal.
Oh, right.
Imagine being the child of someone like Gandhi,
I know.
trying to live up to those like almost impossibly high standards.
It must have been so hard for him to find his own path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And their relationship became quite strained.
It did, yeah.
Harilal rebelled against his father's ideals, turned to alcohol, even became estranged from the family.
Oh, wow.
It's a reminder that even with the best intentions, living a life dedicated to a cause can sometimes create unintended consequences in your personal relationships.
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even someone like Gandhi, who seemed to embody like this incredible strength and resolve, was still human.
Yeah.
Dealing with the complexities of, family and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the tragic partition of India and Pakistan in 1947.
Right.
This was just devastating to Gandhi.
It was.
He had dedicated his life to unity and harmony, and then this outbreak of communal violence that followed the partition must have felt like a personal failure.
Yeah.
Shattering his lifelong dream of a unified India.
It's almost unimaginable. Like witnessing the very thing you fought against your entire life erupt.
I know.
On such a massive scale. How did he respond to this?
Even in the face of this heartbreak, Gandhi refused to give up on his principles.
Wow.
He launched a final hunger strike.
He did.
This act of desperate plea to quell the bloodshed, remind people of the importance of unity and compassion.
It's amazing that even at that moment, amidst so much pain and suffering, he still believed in the power of nonviolence. To heal and reconcile. It really speaks volumes.
It does.
Yeah.
Sadly, his unwavering commitment to peace ultimately led to his assassination in 1948.
Right.
A young Hindu nationalist, fueled by the hatred and division of the time, shot Gandhi during a prayer meeting.
Oh, my God.
His final words were reportedly, "Hey, Ram,"
wow.
An invocation of the divine.
What a tragic end.
It is.
To such an extraordinary life.
It's sad.
Yeah.
But his legacy lives on.
It does.
Gandhi's message of nonviolence, self-discipline, and simple living resonates just as powerfully today.
I think so.
As it did during his lifetime.
Right.
He showed us that real change starts from within. And that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, we can choose love over hate.
Yeah.
Courage over fear.
Yeah.
Unity over division.
It's such a powerful message. And it feels so relevant. Like our world today often feels so divided,
I know.
chaotic. But it's one thing to admire Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
From afar. To be inspired by his story. How can we actually apply his teachings to our lives?
Right.
Make them practical.
Yeah.
Something we can use every day.
That's the question, isn't it? It's easy to get overwhelmed by the enormity of his achievements and think, well, I could never do that.
Right.
But remember, Gandhi himself emphasized the importance of small, consistent actions.
He did, yeah.
He believed that real change happens gradually, one step at a time.
So it's not about becoming Gandhi overnight.
No.
It's about finding ways to integrate his principles into our everyday lives.
Exactly. Think about Satyagraha.
Okay.
We might not be facing down oppressive regimes, but we all encounter situations where we have to stand up for what we believe in.
We do.
Even if it means having a difficult conversation or challenging the status quo.
That's true. So instead of getting swept up in, anger or frustration, we can pause, remember the principles of Satyagraha, approach the situation with a commitment to truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a willingness to appeal to the other person's better nature. It might not always work,
right?
But it's a much more constructive and empowering approach than just reacting out of anger or frustration.
Okay, that makes sense. What about self-discipline?
Yeah.
I mean, Gandhi was known for his incredible self-control. The celibacy, the simple diet, the daily spinning, all that seems pretty extreme.
Right.
For most people.
They are, but the principle of self-discipline is something we can all benefit from.
Right.
Even if we don't take it to those extremes.
Yeah. Okay.
Think about it. How much of our day is spent reacting to impulses, distractions, the endless demands of the modern world?
That's a good question. Between work, social media, trying to keep up with everything,
Right.
it's easy to feel like we're constantly being pulled in a million directions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where self-discipline comes in.
Okay.
It's about consciously choosing where we direct our energy and attention.
Mm-hmm.
It might be something as simple as setting aside time for meditation
Yeah.
or exercise.
Yeah.
Or it might be about resisting the urge to mindlessly scroll through social media.
Oh, yeah.
Or indulge in unhealthy habits.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
So it's about taking back control of our time and our energy, making deliberate choices that align with our values and goals rather than just reacting to whatever comes our way.
Exactly. And this brings us to simple living.
Right.
In today's consumer-driven culture, we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need more stuff, more experiences, more status.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in that cycle.
It is.
And lose sight of what truly matters.
I definitely fall into that trap sometimes. So how do we break free from that cycle and embrace a more Gandhian approach?
Well, it starts with becoming more aware of our consumption habits.
Right.
Ask yourself, what do I truly need?
Yeah.
What brings me genuine joy and fulfillment?
That's a good question.
It might involve decluttering your home, cutting back on unnecessary spending, or just being more mindful of the choices you make each day.
So it's about shifting our focus from material possessions to experiences, relationships, inner growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about finding contentment in simple things, cultivating gratitude for what we have, and focusing on contributing to something larger than ourselves.
This is really resonating with me.
I love that.
It's like we've been conditioned almost to believe that happiness comes from acquiring things.
I know.
But his life shows us that true happiness comes from something much deeper. From a sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
Connection, inner peace.
You've hit the nail on the head. That's the beauty of Gandhi's teachings.
Yeah.
They offer a roadmap not just for achieving political freedom,
Right.
but also for cultivating inner freedom.
Yeah.
The kind of freedom that transcends external circumstances,
Yeah.
allows us to live a life filled with meaning and purpose.
Okay, this has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand the real power of his ideas, not just as historical events, but as principles
Yes.
we can actually use today.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so relevant,
Exactly.
even in the 21st century.
Exactly. He showed us that these principles, satyagraha, self-discipline, simple living, they're not just lofty ideals, they're practical tools that can help us navigate, the complexities of modern life, find inner peace,
Right.
and contribute to a more just and compassionate world.
I'm excited to keep exploring this.
Me too.
What else can you tell us about his legacy
And
the lasting impact of his teachings?
well, in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore how Gandhi's ideas have inspired social movements
Okay.
and individuals around the world, and we'll leave you with some practical tips on how you can incorporate his wisdom into your own life.
Awesome. I can't wait. It's really amazing how his ideas, born out of a very specific time and place,
Right.
continue to resonate
They dare.
with people all over the world today. It's like his message of nonviolence, self-discipline, and simple living
Right.
has this universal appeal.
It does.
Yeah.
That's the mark of a truly transformative thinker.
It is.
Gandhi wasn't just responding to the challenges of his time.
Yeah.
He was tapping into something much deeper.
Okay.
This human longing for freedom, justice, and peace.
It's true.
And he showed us that these aren't just lofty ideals. They can be achieved through very concrete actions.
He walked the walk, didn't he?
He did.
He didn't just talk about nonviolence, he lived it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't just preach simplicity, he embodied it.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he proved that these principles are not only morally right, but they're also incredibly effective.
So effective. He was a master strategist, using truth and compassion as his weapons. And that's what makes his approach so enduring. It disarms the opponent, forces them to confront their own conscience. It's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, he took that to a whole new level, though.
He did.
He didn't just talk about change, he became the change.
Yes.
And in doing so, he inspired millions to follow in his footsteps, not just in India,
Right.
but all over the world.
All over. You're right. Gandhi's influence extends far beyond the Indian independence movement.
Right.
His ideas have inspired countless social justice movements and individuals striving for positive change.
That's true.
Think about Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement in the United States, or Nelson Mandela's fight against apartheid in South Africa.
Yeah.
Both of these leaders drew inspiration from Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance.
It's amazing to think about, like, the ripple effect
I know.
of his ideas, how they continue to empower people to stand up
They do.
for what they believe in, even in the face of, like, overwhelming odds.
Absolutely. And it's not just about these grand political movements.
Right.
Gandhi's teachings are just as relevant in our personal lives,
Totally.
in our relationships, in the way we approach everyday challenges.
Okay, so we've talked about the big ideas.
Yeah.
Satyagraha, self-discipline, simplicity.
Yeah.
I think what our listeners really want to know is, like, how do we actually put these into practice?
Yeah.
In our own lives?
All right.
Where do we even begin?
Right. You're right. It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
But remember, it all starts with, like, small, conscious choices.
Yeah?
Every day, we're faced with these opportunities to act in alignment with our values, to choose courage over fear, compassion over judgment, and simplicity over excess.
Okay, so it's not about becoming Gandhi overnight.
No.
It's about these small steps, these gradual changes that lead to, like, a more fulfilling life.
Exactly.
Right.
Maybe it's choosing to have that difficult conversation with a loved one instead of avoiding it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's standing up for a colleague who's being treated unfairly, or maybe it's choosing to walk or bike instead of driving, or simply being more mindful of our consumption habits.
It's like we're weaving a tapestry of peace,
Yes.
one thread at a time.
I love that.
And as more and more people join in, that tapestry becomes stronger,
It does.
more vibrant.
Beautiful. And this reminds me of Gandhi's emphasis on self-reliance. He believed that true freedom comes from within, not from external sources.
Yeah. He understood that relying on others for our happiness or our security ultimately leads to disappointment.
It does.
So it's about, like, cultivating a sense of inner strength, resilience,
Resilience.
that ability to face challenges with courage and grace.
Exactly. And that doesn't mean we have to do everything ourselves.
Right.
It's about recognizing our own power and agency,
Yeah.
even in the face of difficult circumstances.
It's about taking responsibility for our choices, our actions, our impact on the world.
Yes.
And that's a powerful message.
It is. It is.
It's like that quote, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be.
Yes.
And he decided to be a force for good in the world.
He did.
And he showed us that we can all make that same choice.
We can.
It's inspiring to think that we all have that potential within us, the potential to make a difference,
Me too.
to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What small act of courage or compassion can you commit to today? Something that aligns with your values and contributes to a better world, no matter how small it may seem.
Remember, even the smallest ripple can create a wave. And as Gandhi so beautifully demonstrated, it's those waves of love and compassion that have the power to transform the world.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes.
We hope you've been inspired
by
his message of truth, nonviolence, and simplicity.
Absolutely.
And may his legacy continue to guide us on our own journeys toward personal growth,
Yes.
positive change.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to make the world a better place.
And never underestimate the power of a single act of kindness.